In becoming a footballer, there is no greater honour than representing your country. Either that or simply respecting the ball. To be one of 11 people within a whole country to play professional football is a privilege that shows that someone has put their life into the craft and would aspire to aim for greater heights, that being competing for international trophies. That being said, only a select few are given the opportunity to join in international tournaments, let alone provisional squads. At this point in writing, soon-to-be Sakayaki Thomas Tuchel has named his 35-man squad ahead of both the friendlies against Uruguay,
You are gay.
and Japan, and the World Cup. Many names on the list bring a breath of fresh air, none more than Fikayo Tomori, and hopefully the fingers being pointed at Jordan Henderson's addition has lessened. However, if social media is to give us any kind of positive in this world, it is where people air their grievances without fires being started and shops being looted. One such name that seems to be tossed around being omitted is Trent Alexander-Arnold, who plays like a midfielder at right back and can't play midfield when he's at the centre of the park. Though he has now started finding consistent game time with Real Madrid, it wasn't enough to include him in the squad, but he's still worth a mention for his quality with the ball. That being said, obviously some omissions are due to tactical choice or injury rather than purely lack of form or quality. So that's got me thinking, are there any other English footballers who could have a stake in being included in the 35-man squad? Let's find out. Here are 5 English footballers who should have made Thomas Tuchel's 35-man squad. Number 1. Nick Pope. Let us begin with a goalkeeper. Though 5 goalkeepers is more than enough. Honestly, 5? Anyway, when Nick Pope is fit and playing, he is the strongest omission from the squad, with the likes of Sam Johnstone giving somewhat competition. Additionally, though he plays in the second tier, Coventry's Carl Rushworth would have brought more light onto the quality that is still being shown in the Championship. Already playing 22 times in the Premier League and 8 times in the Champions League shows that Nick Pope now has European pedigree in his experience. The 33-year-old had been on loan to the likes of Aldershot Town, Harrow Borough and Welling United, to then over a decade later represent Newcastle in cup finals and European competitions. Though Pope isn't credited for his composure with the ball at his feet compared to modern-day goalkeepers, he's still one of the best in terms of shot stopping and dominating his 6-yard box. That being said, with the revival of Aaron Ramsdale, Pope has recently started to see his playtime reduce significantly. Already capped 10 times by the 3 Lions, Pope became the first goalkeeper to keep a clean sheet in his first 6 appearances for the country. So hopefully, this omission won't leave Pope out of any future England squads. Number 2. Jarrad Branthwaite. Already capped once for England against Bosnia in 2024, it was between Branthwaite and Tarkowski for me personally, who maybe should have been added at least to the 35-man squad. Obviously, England don't have a lot of centre-backs who could have been added. Just look at the likes of Max Kilman.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
However, Lewis Dunk, even at 34, is still playing every week for a top-flight club in Brighton. Tarkowski is someone who I still miss from his old Brentford days. But with both Burnley and Everton, you couldn't ask for more from a no-nonsense defender. That being said, Jarrad Branthwaite edges it for me, and I won't hear any more about it. The 23-year-old has had a couple of consistent seasons recently, and is hopefully only getting better under a David Moyes Everton team. Unfortunately for a majority of this season, he has had a horrendous hamstring injury, missing 22 games already. That was until late January, where he has returned to the squad and has put in his fair share of wins with Everton, against the likes of Fulham, Newcastle and Burnley. I can see, however, why he is omitted though, considering he has picked up another injury before the game against Arsenal, and that also includes Tarkowski. Hopefully when more news comes out about the extent of both players' injuries, they could have more of a shout to join future England squads. Not for Ben Godfrey though. He has double the caps of what Branthwaite earned. Have fun in Denmark, Ben. Number 3. Tyrick Mitchell. with the centre-back positions being near enough impossible in finding a suitable contender for joining the squad, an array of right and left-footed specialists are ready for the call as always. You have Reece James, Kyle Walker-Peters, Ryan Sessegnon, Luke Shaw to an extent, even Leif Davis from Ipswich could be an option outside of the box. Tyrick Mitchell, however, is my pick for this kind of thing. The Brentford Academy graduate joined Crystal Palace 10 years ago and has gone on to play for the Eagles over 200 times. How many caps does he have to show for this? 2. Honestly, if Jamaica seized the opportunity to add him to their ranks, England may rue not giving him the opportunity to play more regularly for the international team. Breaking it down, Mitchell is a regular starter at left back for a Premier League club, is defensively reliable, and naturally a left-sided player. A much better defender than Trent. Unlike all the shouts already mentioned, Mitchell seems to be one of the many examples of great English talent who would easily find a place in the England squad had he joined the side, constantly competing for the Premier League title. Still only 26 years of age, England do seem to lack depth at fullback, more so due to injuries and match fitness of the array of players in that position, which does make this a reasonable inclusion call, especially when you need defensive-minded options. Number 4. Morgan Gibbs-White. Probably the hardest position to create an outright argument for, considering so many in the midfield could be included. You have Jacob Ramsey, who has recently started finding more minutes and goal contributions to his game with Newcastle after his £40 million switch from Aston Villa. You also have Curtis Jones, who even at the age of 25 has become a more reliable option for Liverpool and has contributed to goals and assists, becoming a regular starter near the end of Klopp's time as Liverpool manager. Not to mention Archie Gray, who has been a somewhat shining light in Tottenham's horrendous season. Emil Smith-Rowe has become a regular with Fulham, and fan favourite Will Hughes can maybe be a solid, reliable option. However, Morgan, stuck at Nottingham Forest until he's 65, Gibbs-White is my pick. Already representing England 6 times, it really is fair to say Nottingham Forest have had a turbulent season. That being said, Gibbs-White has been an ever-present figure, wearing the armband both in the Premier League and Europa League. Scoring 10 goals and assisting 5 in this season alone isn't enough, I guess. But I'm still in favour of James Garner finally being included, and Kobe Mainoo, as much as he hasn't played much this season, has shown that Ruben Amorim isn't as tactically progressive as people thought when he joined Man United. And number 5, Ollie Watkins. Not to create fire and brimstone with this comparison, but Ollie Watkins' England career reminds me a bit of Darius Vassell, where he would always be mentioned to be included in the England squad and would contribute, but would never be the main man irrespective of his domestic form. While Darius Vassell ended his career with 22 caps and 6 goals, Watkins nearly mirrors that, only playing 2 games less. Scoring 16 goals from 18 games last season, he's now only scored 8 goals in 29 this season. So maybe this is a fair assessment of why he isn't included in the 35-man squad. That being said, playing his football as far back as 2013 with Exeter in League 2, to working his way up consistently in the Premier League and thriving, Watkins has always shown that when he is at the right place at the right time, he will convert more chances into goals than not. It's still crazy to think that he was originally a winger with Brentford, where he then took the responsibility of becoming the main striker after the sale of Neil Maupay to Brighton. I'm not going to make the argument of which attacker should make way for Watkins, but when some players who have contributed less than Watkins, it does make you wonder if he played for Man City or the like, then he would have already earned double what Darius Vassell has earned. So before we finish, let's wrap up some more names that have been omitted or have yet to be considered joining the England team. Keane Lewis-Potter, as much as I'd love to have another English player representing Brentford, isn't consistent enough. Callum Wilson hasn't really aged well at 34 with 5 goals in 24 games, and Gael Gomez just hasn't set the French league alight with Marseille, hence opting to go on loan to relegation-looming Wolves. Conor Gallagher has been a disappointment for Spurs. Adam Smith, as much as he could have earned a couple of caps while at Bournemouth, is starting to show his age, and Ivan Toney. The further he's away from England and the national team, the better. Honestly, if he gets a great run of form, he'd push for a switch to play for Spain or something. And lastly, The one player I think could easily swap with any of the 5 players mentioned, Danny Welbeck. Age is one thing, but when you have the stats, numbers and form to show you're on top form, that is what meritocracy is all about. Definitely one who should be talked about more to join England, much more than Max Dowman. Sometimes topics online can lead to an influx of views and helps YouTubers pay their bills, but Max Dowman has potentially a great career ahead of him, and people are jumping onto the bandwagon for him to join the England squad? This is near enough the same predicament Theo Walcott found himself in. The only difference is people are already brandishing out the messy comparisons. So here's a heed of warning for you if you believe that. Yes, Max Dowman can have the potential to become the next Messi, but handled without care, he could be the next Bojan. And that's it. 5 English footballers who should have made Thomas Tuchel's 35-man squad. Obviously, there are a few honourable mentions scattered in the video, but that is more so to illustrate how fortunate England are with an array of talent at their disposal. Let me know if you agree, disagree, and name any other player you believe should have been added to the 35-man squad. Be sure to subscribe for more football content. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, I will see you soon.